It's Wednesday, April 27th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the Great Comic Castle Waiting.
Let's do this.
Been a while since we've done a show.
Too long.
Got a little bit sick after Anime Boston and didn't finish a Thursday show before Anime Boston.
I was actually, way sick after, and then actually yesterday I was so good. But then this morning, sick again.
Double sick.
Slightly. At least it's just, it's just the throat tickle. It's not like, strep throat or anything,
I had the full-on sore throat. I skipped 2 days of work.
It's just like, throat tickles, discomfort while swallowing, that kind of situation.
Yep. Mine went
Nothing a little
extra.
Ricola can't handle.
I took pretty much the maximum number of drugs I could take to feel good until I went away.
I take the minimum number of drugs.
Yeah,
That's how I roll.
Yeah, you know what? How I roll? Doesn't hurt, and there's no harm done.
Yeah, there is.
What harm? What harm does pseudoephedrine, guaifenesin, acetaminophen, and Benadryl do, taken simultaneously?
Liver damage, among other things.
Liver damage usually only occurs in cases of overdose or chronic use, or in cases of people who are alcoholics.
You being an alcoholic,
actually,
I see cirrhosis.
Actually,
in the
you
future.
realize, Scott,
in my crystal ball, there's a capital C.
I would just like to point out that I do drink quite a bit, but by all measures, by scientific measures of how much I drink, I'm on the low end of moderate drinking. You have to drink a fuck ton of alcohol to be considered
That's
an
like
alcoholic.
saying, I don't do crack. I only do crack once a week. That other guy does crack every day.
But I didn't say I don't do alcohol. I do alcohol in quantity.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you may not be technically an alcoholic.
Scott, according to doctors, I'm not even a moderate drinker.
Yes, but your liver is still damaged.
Actually, no, it's not. You realize if
you want to have a liver battle?
I think my liver could win.
My liver is probably going to kick your liver's ass.
Scott, you do realize that the liver is not damaged if alcohol consumption is lower than the rate of alcohol processing. It's only when you consume too much in a short period, or consume large amounts chronically, or do stupid things like taking a bunch of Tylenol.
So,
and
as you
drinking,
just discussed,
or take Scott, a bunch of Tylenol is not one Tylenol PM one night.
Yeah, it's more than me.
Okay,
there's probably some cells in your liver that are damaged, and you know how many of my liver are damaged? 0.
You know what? Probably not. And also, we'll see who makes it to 90.
You kidding? I'm making it to 9,000.
But yeah, we were at Anime Boston. We're not going to really review
that extra liver cell is going to carry me the whole way.
Because we've been to many Anime Bostons, but we got to see Clarissa and Gerald and Daryl briefly. Scott saw them slightly more than I did because he went to Jikoku.
Yep.
I did not because I had to run a panel. And while I went to Scott's Hatsune Miku panel, which I had nothing to do with, I even sat on stage doing nothing the whole time. Just watching.
So good of you to sit on stage and do nothing and be in the way.
I was there for the introduction, and then I just sat there.
Uh-huh.
At one point, I even gave up and just put my microphone down. I just watched.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, Scott went to Anime Hell while I had to run my Anime Openers panel all by myself.
Yeah, because I was, showing an example and obeying the golden rule.
Golden rule?
Yeah. The real golden rule.
Whoever has the gold?
Yeah, no. I didn't want you to sit on stage and annoy me, so I did not sit on stage and annoy you.
Thing is, you would have had fun annoying people in my panel. Even though I had to cut it short, I barely finished because we had to cut all the panels down to 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, if they don't want to put... I understand that it's like there was some bad discussion of whether they would put gaps in the panels, and they decided not to, right? But here's the thing. So let's say you got a convention, you're scheduling, and you decide we're not going to put gaps. So we'll make all the panels 1 hour, and we'll put them right up against each other. Okay. So that means that the panel gets an hour, and then you have to switch rooms, and the next panel gets an hour, right? And everyone has to switch rooms basically instantly. But what they did is they basically stopped all the panels 15 minutes early. So the panels are only actually 45 minutes long. So why didn't they just schedule the panels to be 45 minutes long and put 15-minute gaps there? At least then I would have known my panel was 45 minutes instead of I had an hour panel and I tried to use my whole hour and was cut short.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Lou is probably, of all the anime cons we work with, other than the professional
Well, he
ones,
told me that he wanted gaps and he was shot down.
well, the smartest and most competent of all anime con panel schedulers. I trust Lou, and I know that he always tries to do the right thing.
Yep.
But otherwise, it went well. I mean, Anime Boston
I got no other complaints.
was another Anime Boston. I have one complaint. Boston apparently can't handle any number of people with cell phones. I don't know what was up this weekend, but literally, like, my cell phone just kept not getting signal.
I had no problem.
But a lot of people are having problems, mostly Sprint and Verizon people.
I had the
Wait,
I had the evil AT&T and it worked just fine.
You were complaining on Saturday at like 5 or 6 junctures about how you didn't have enough signal and stuff was loading slowly.
Yeah,
And
I was trying to watch an HD movie on YouTube and it was loading slowly on a cell phone. Gee, that's a surprise.
Well, I think what happened...
And at the top of a hotel.
I think what was happening is that, one, Boston doesn't have a lot of tall buildings. Not to disparage Boston, it is one of the only cities I've ever spent any time in.
It's an okay city, but their tall buildings are not high
that
in
I
quantity.
could consider living in. Like, if I couldn't live in New York for whatever reason, I think I could deal with Boston. Boston's pretty chill, even though their subway doesn't run all the time and consists of tiny buses. But I don't think the cell towers are high enough, because once I got about 2 stories up, suddenly cell service starts dropping off rapidly.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of tall buildings. So
It
if
would
you're
have
on
been
the 20,
faster for Scott to take his laptop downstairs, load My Little Pony, and then come all the way back up to the 21st floor to watch it.
Yep. But, whatever. It worked.
Yeah. So my biggest complaint about Anime Boston was that Boston cell service for Sprint and Verizon sucks. Pretty good con.
All right.
Spent most of our time in the gaming area with our awesome... None of our local posse went. We had none of the core front row crew. It was all
they went to PAX and
Yep.
they don't go to every con like we do.
Yep, so it was all fans and forumites, and it was a pretty rocking time. Shout outs to everyone we played games with for also we've got 2 people who are going to help us do that show on wrestling that we keep saying we're going to do.
Oh, great.
I learned a lot about wrestling talking to the Hitman.
I learned too much. Okay. Right. So check this out. IDW, the comic publisher,
Yeah.
right? Most of the comics they put out are the licensed properties. Remember, they were doing that invasion thing that was Star Trek and Transformers and Ghostbusters, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently they put out a comic called G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero, and basically what that was. Because they put out so many different G.I. Joe and Transformers comics that are all over the place, right? Some of them are standalone. Like, there was the Steampunk one that I read, and there was that All Hail Megatron one. Those are standalone things that have nothing to do with anything else. And then they got freaking, Generation this, and, bad guy perspective that, and then got Cybertron this thing, and it's so many different things. You can't figure out how they go together or which one you want to read, right? But apparently this one comic they have called G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero, and it picks up exactly where the original G.I. Joe comics from Marvel left off.
Whoa, like the original?
Right, so the Marvel G.I. Joe comics from the 80s, right, ended.
I read a whole bunch of those.
So the first issue of G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero picks up exactly where that last issue left off. There's a fan petition, right, to IDW. It's current at Monday evening. It was at 1,202 signatures. Right?
I'm sorry, fan petitions always strike me as utterly hilarious. Anyway, go on.
It's hilarious. But anyway, this is somewhat realistic. What they want
I need a fan petition for My Little Pony.
Yeah, what they want IDW to do, is to make a Transformers comic that picks up where the Marvel Transformers comic left off. There were 80 issues of that comic, right? And that's pretty much the core of Transformers, is that 80-issue Marvel comic. They want to make a new they want IDW to make a new Transformers comic where issue number 1 is basically issue number 81
So I don't think this will happen.
Why not? They made a G.I. Joe one. Why wouldn't they make a...
Part of it is because G.I. Joe, the reboot, the movie and everything, G.I. Joe does not have the cachet in the industry right now that Transformers does with all its movies and whatever. The Transformers franchise, I think, if anything, is going to be closer and more based on the current live-action movies than on any of the
there's
old
only
stuff.
one. There's only one comic series that's based on the movies. There's a whole bunch of them, and only one of them has anything to do with the movies.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying going forward, I mean, what were the sales and all those? I think they're more interested in driving the movie franchise.
I think you're thinking too hard about it because basically this is comics. No one gives a shit about comics. They do whatever they want. They've been making all sorts of weird comic
That's what I'm
series
saying.
for
They
a
do
long
whatever they
time.
want, but at the same time, when push comes to shove, when someone says make a comic on something, in anywhere in the toy industry, the person saying that is usually thinking, I have a movie and or some other property that I need to push. The comic is a trivial and cheap way to push that onto nerds.
But see, you're thinking about something like Hasbro, right? Where Hasbro controls, for example, My Little Pony, right?
Yeah, Hasbro, stop cocking up. Don't, anyway.
And Hasbro also makes the My Little Pony toys, right? Hasbro controls Transformers television, movies, and toys.
True.
But the comics, right? Transformers licensed to IDW. So basically they say, IDW, make the Transformers comics. Here you go. You pay us money and you can make Transformers comics. With certain, restrictions or whatever. I don't know what they are because it's not like a public, contract, right? So IDW, they make things like, All Hell, Megatron, and all sorts of whatever.
All right, here's my other rationale.
And they
then.
have been for a long time.
They won't make it because
And I don't think Hasbro even gives a shit because it's comics. Who cares?
1,200 sales times $5 even isn't enough money.
No, but that's the thing. They make all sorts of other failing ones. Why not make this one?
Well, how many failing ones can they make? I mean, how do they make money?
I think there's actually like 5 or 6 different Transformers series concurrently.
I mean,
there's a lot of them.
Here's the question. Do they make money? And if so, on what?
I don't know.
That's what I'd like to know.
I don't know. These comics, I don't know.
I can't even tell anymore. It's even worse. Like, at least with the anime industry, there's the excuse of there is no industry in the U.S. anymore. Like, what happened to this franchise? Oh, no one owns it. But with comics, we know who owns it, and we still don't know any information.
Yeah, whatever.
So, this isn't really news, but for anyone who's a fan of anime at all, you should at least be aware of the fact that Osamu Dezaki died. He is one of the important great legends of anime. He sadly died due to lung cancer, probably because he was a chain smoker.
Like a lot of Japanese people. It's actually one thing that makes me like not want to go to Japan is that I know there's basically smoking everywhere.
Everyone I've ever talked to who's been to Japan said, yeah, you're going to hate the fact that every jackass everywhere is smoking all the time.
On the side, in the restaurants, and this everywhere.
I mean, when I go down south and a restaurant is like smoking or non, I'm like, what? And
But at least there's a non, right? In Japan, is there even a non?
I don't even know.
Like,
but,
is there a such thing as a non-smoking hotel room in Japan?
Now, I could say a lot about Osamu Dezaki, but
are people smoking in like the hot pond springs, whatever?
I don't think they are there.
Okay.
The reason I'm not going to say a lot about Osamu Dezaki is that Mike Toole said pretty much everything that needs to be said. So this is kind of a dual news because one, if you don't know who this man is, you probably should. If you look at the list of anime he's done and you don't recognize any of them, you should watch several of them. Particularly Hajime no Ippo or Rose of Versailles. I haven't even watched Hajime no Ippo, and I know I should.
Yeah, but you should not watch all of them.
No, just like how you don't read Ambassador Magma. You know of it, but
Why
you do not read it.
Why not?
Well, you know what? You read it.
Have you? What is? You even know what Ambassador Magma's about? Have
You know what I know about
anything
Ambassador
about
Magma? Magma. Here's what I know about Ambassador Magma. I've been told by everyone that it is some of the worst that Osamu Tezuka has ever done.
So so basically you go on hearsay.
Yeah,
You have no
100%.
idea.
Tell you what, let's read. That'll be my next book club book.
Where are you gonna get it? In English.
I'll get it.
All right.
I'll get it somehow. We'll read it in Japanese.
Okay. It'll take 100 years.
Yeah, but seriously, you know how we talk about the stereotypes of anime? We've done whole panels on this stuff. Like Astro Boy, Tezuka pioneered these certain kinds of ways of framing things and reusing footage to make anime happen. And then later, even when they were not necessary anymore because anime had bigger budgets, they still did those things because they became iconic of anime. Dezaki is about as responsible for many of the tropes of anime today as Tezuka, the two Osamus. I mean, I think the biggest hallmark of Dezaki is the sudden freeze frame to a watercolor or kind of like washed out vision of what just happened, like a highly detailed painting of the scene you just saw. Or the zoom up, then zoom up a little bit slower on the same frame of animation.
Oh my god.
It's good stuff. And also, you should really read Mike Toole's articles on the Mike Toole Show on Anime News Network. They're actually really informative and really, really well written. And if you can't get to a con and see Mike Toole do his awesome panels, the only one I got to see at Anime Boston was a true story of Oda Nobunaga as told through anime.
That was a good panel.
That was a great panel.
I liked all those different Nobunaga appearances.
Apparently, Oda Nobunaga was a demon, but he was also a space robot.
And also has a mustache.
Yep.
But also does not have a mustache.
And sometimes
but also
the mustache
always does.
is different.
Yeah.
But he was a demon, and we know that's true.
Wasn't he a
from
woman once
historical accounts.
also?
Yes, he was a woman.
Mhm.
Not to be confused with Oda Nobunaga, but I digress.
Mhm. He's very ambitious.
So things of the day. I try to avoid doing, the same old college humors every day because the secret would be if you want to see most of the worthwhile videos on the internet that aren't My Little Pony related, pretty much College Humor is going to have them all within a few days. So I really don't need to use those as things of the day. I assume you'll see them all. So instead, I have for you from this pretty cool forum that is all about special effects, like makeup, masks, creatures, all that kind of thing. A silicone model of Bert, a realistic Bert.
Sesame Street Bert.
It's horrifying.
Yeah,
it's
that's pretty accurate.
It's not even in the
Completely
uncanny
accurate.
valley. You could conceive of a human who looked like this. It's just really, really detailed, and yeah, this is the stuff of nightmares.
Yep,
that's all I got. I thought it was cool.
All right, I got something I saw at Anime Hell. This is direct from hell, right? This is a clip from the 1970s television show Ding Dong Roar, where they sing a song about not doing drugs, kids.
Drugs are bad, kids.
That's right.
Especially in the orphanage.
Yep.
Not going to reveal what the real deal is?
You're going to know as soon as you click on the link. It's in the title of the YouTube video.
Yeah. If you don't notice, you'll know when that shit comes in before you throw it.
Oh, snap. Did that shit before I came in the room.
So briefly, the meta moment, we will be at the Penny Arcade Expo Prime in Seattle doing probably 3 panels.
Special notice, there was a tweet today from official PAX saying that at the current rate, PAX Prime will sell out of badges in 15 days.
So buy your goddamn badges.
I don't know why, if you didn't listen to us before, we said that you needed to buy the badge and get the hotel room immediately.
I point out it's selling out faster, maybe because we're telling everyone to buy their badges.
If people are listening to us and taking our advice, good. If you're not, you're going to be screwed.
Yep. Remember, PAX badges always sell out. Point the first. They are legally transferable. Point the second. In fact, that is condoned. Point the third.
As long as you don't charge more than what you paid for.
Yeah, and even then, if you do, you can get away with that unless you're going to be a gigantic scalper jackass about it. And if you do, Robert Cool will probably find you and trick you like he did that one year.
Yes.
So anyway, the moral of this is, even if you can't go to PAX, you should buy a badge anyway on the off chance that you do. And if you can't go and it's a week away, I guarantee you'll be able to sell that badge for exactly what you paid for it, and everything will work out. Buying it, you're basically putting $60 or whatever aside to have the chance to go to PAX if it all works out.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't get a good hotel, you can get a shitty hotel. There's plenty of shitty hotels still.
Yep. They're just far away.
But yeah, we'll be there. Also, PAX Dev was announced, so if you are a game developer or in any way involved in the game industry, unless you're press, you should check out PAX Dev because it's kind of like
if
GDC.
you can afford to spend a couple more days in Seattle.
If you actually work for a game company, there's a good chance your company will pay for you to go. This is basically... The deal with PAX Dev, for people who haven't been paying attention, is
they want to make a GDC that doesn't have press, so it's basically by developers for developers.
Yeah, the rules are basically if you register, you do not talk about what happens at PAX Dev. You do not tweet about what happens at PAX Dev, unless the speakers or the people you're talking to give you express permission. And if you don't, it is not public what they will do to you if you violate this rule. But my guess is they will ban you from PAX Dev for life.
Yeah.
Which, imagine this, a world with no press, game designers and people in the game industry in basically a safe place for 2 days to go to panels that are inside baseball. Imagine someone who works for, say, Blizzard doing inside baseball panel on World of Warcraft.
Yep.
I don't know if that is what'll happen.
Who knows?
I can't
But
say.
I think that's what they hope will happen, right? Is that developers will say all kinds of things that they wouldn't normally say because they don't want those things ending up in blogs and, and stuff like that.
Now, we may be there. We can't say anything about that yet, but there is a clause. There are people who are press but also have other hats in the gaming industry.
For example, let's say you write game reviews, but you also make games. Like, Penny Arcade, they theoretically make games, at least they did, and they're also sort of press, right? They comment on the industry with their comics.
Or, for example, say you are press, like Geeknights, but at the same time, you're doing a lecture on, say, game theory. They have
and
a
what
rule.
if we make a game?
Well, then we're doubly, triple threat.
Yeah.
So the rule is, if you have a press hat, better take that fucker off before you come into PAX Dev.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're in trouble. Same as we said before.
Now,
but
of course, if they accept us and allow us to speak at PAX Dev or some such, which we don't know, we would definitely allow people to spread the news about whatever we have to say.
However, what I think we should do, if we have time to take questions, like if we do a hardcore, say, game theory panel, and then we take questions, I would actually want the questions to not be public, because I would like people to be able to ask the inside baseball questions like, we're making X game, and here is our balance problem.
That is fine with me, because if it is not public, that means that I can be a total jerk when I answer. And,
Yep.
I'll be like,
Your
that was a
balance
dumb
problem has to do with
question.
the fact that you don't know how to make games.
That was a dumb question. You are stupid for even having asked it. We are all dumber for being in the room with you.
No, I award you no points, and
Yeah.
may God have mercy on your soul.
That's right.
You realize I memorized that Adam Sandler speech for the day when we ever take questions again.
All right.
Anyway, the book club book is Asimov's Foundation, which you should have read. I have not read it because I'm a dumbass.
I read part of it a long time ago.
I'm about halfway through it because I just finished The White Luck Warrior.
I'll read it pretty soon.
And we're going to be maybe at Otakon. Like I said, we submitted our panels. If they accept them, we'll go. And let's see. There's not much else on our plate. Board game nights, all the usual stuff we're going to.
Barcamp NYC is open for registration. It's at Barcamp. Just go to twitter.com/BarcampNYC or barcampnyc.org.
Scott's helping out with that, and you should check it out.
Yeah. If you don't know what bar camps are, you fail.
Yep. Also, ConnectiCon, which is an anime/gaming/steampunk/furry/art/voice act/ fucking everything convention.
Everything geeky.
In Hartford, Connecticut. Now, if we count the way PAX counts, it's like a 20,000 person convention.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 7,000 people by unique bodies, and it's in Hartford, Connecticut. We are the co-directors of panels and workshops for this convention for the last couple of years, and it's actually a pretty goddamn rockin' convention.
It's pretty good. It's got has a better tabletop gaming situation than anything, even
Than
PAX.
any gaming con I have ever been to, with the possible exception of PAX.
I think it's actually better than PAX because the library is more expansive. There's more tables available per person, and they are better tables. That's the only reasons.
The only thing PAX...
Because, it's not like how much can you make a tabletop better? You have games, you have tables.
Well,
PAX has the same thing.
2
Only
points.
PAX has less games,
PAX
more
Prime,
tables, but more people.
PAX Prime in 2008, when they had the unfinished annex, did not have as much space. But because the space was organized into many, many, many small rooms, it was a fucking awesome space. Especially for role-playing games.
Yeah, it was.
And
it was
PAX
fun.
East, this past year in the BCEC, while it was just one fucking gigantic room, that was a fucking gigantic room.
Right, but I'm saying is that number of table seats per person, the ratio at ConnectiCon is better than at either PAX.
Not if you count secret tabletop.
You can't count that.
You can count that.
It's not.
That was basically Geeknights' private tabletop.
Anyway.
Anyway, so ConnectiCon, the deadline is May 10th to register if you want to run a panel or a workshop. If you are a Geeknights listener and you want to run a panel or workshop, go to the link I'm going to put in this, news post or whatever. I'm the one who approves your panels. Yeah. Also, if you know of anyone who you think should do a panel, let them know. Give them a link to the forum, whatever, because we want to have some awesome panels. And we were told last year, the first year we were in charge, that we, in fact, had the best list of panels ConnectiCon has ever had.
Yep.
So, yeah, panel submissions.
And if your panel
get 'em in.
sucks, submit it anyway, and you'll get harshly rejected.
Or you'll get accepted, and then you'll get blacklisted.
Yep.
And we do know pretty much everyone who accepts panels at every con in the East Coast. You'll get blackballed everywhere.
Yep. Anyway. All right, so we don't talk about comics quite that often, mostly because Rim doesn't read them that often.
I just read a whole bunch of comics that I have to give to you to read, and then we'll do shows on them so I can finally mail them back to Timo.
Why don't we just give them back to him at this point?
Because you should read them. They're really good.
No, I mean give them back as in person.
Yeah, because the same reason I didn't give Aaron Clark his suit back in person, because if he flies out somewhere and I give him a big package to then fly back with versus just shipping it to him.
Yeah, anyway.
So
this is comic. I read it quite a while ago. It comes out very slowly, issue by issue, but when they get enough issues, they release these really big hardcovers that are really fancy, that even have the little ribbon in them. It's so awesome, right? And I bought the first hardcover, and it was so awesome. And, but no one else ever read it but me. So I was like, I got no one to talk about this thing with. And it's something that almost nobody knows about, but almost everybody will think is the best thing ever.
It's pretty great, I'm going to say straight up.
Yeah.
To head off the rest of the review.
Yeah, so it's a comic is called Castle Waiting, right? It's got the word castle in it. That's good. It's by a girl named Linda Medley. And basically the deal with Castle Waiting is this. It's like this whole fairy tale world. Ooh, right? And basically, you think, oh, there's a whole bunch of fairy tale comics out there like Fables and shit. Why do we need another one? Well, this isn't like Fables where it takes existing fairy tales and sort of retells them, right? It's not like, oh, Rapunzel, oh, whatever. It's like a brand new fairy tale that never existed before.
Yep, it's put up by Fantagraphics. It's just, black and white comic book. The tomes are pretty great. They have the little, fancy ribbon bookmark.
I already said there was a ribbon.
Yeah, the ribbon bookmark built in is pretty fancy.
Yeah.
But if I had to say what it was briefly, it's a slice of life set in a fantasy world that consists of a series of semi-related Canterbury Tales almost style fables just about all the people at this castle.
I don't know if it's really slice of life, right? I think there is a core plot, right? So you have this girl who is sort of a Sleeping Beauty-ish situation, kind of, sort of.
We're going to avoid spoiling a lot because it's a pretty good comic and you should just read it.
But basically this girl's in this weird Sleeping Beauty kind of situation, and whatever it comes down to is she's some sort, I think she's like a princess or who knows what she is, or her dad was a merchant, something like that. She is much older and she has a son. It was a little baby, and the baby is obviously some kind of monster or something, like a demon or who knows what. And she runs away and she ends up at this castle waiting.
Which is sort of not really a purgatory, but like a sanctuary for all the dispossessed of the world.
Yeah, it's like this castle that used to be a big fancy castle that had fairy tale shit going down. But, everyone at that castle most of the people at that castle sort of evacuated. It's like she ran away from her home in the normal sort of medieval world and ended up in sort of like this hidden fantasy castle that there's only a few people living there now. All right.
See, now I say there's a bit of slice of life because it's like half of this is a contiguous narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I have to split up into thirds because a third of it is a contiguous narrative of like this main plot about the woman who's just joined with the baby.
Yep.
Another third of it is the tales of all the people who live there now and what their deal is.
Yeah, because, I think what it does, right, she gets to this castle, and you have to meet all the characters that already live there, which, sort of become her new family, right, because now she's living there with her baby. So you meet all the people, but then, after that, you really meet all the people, right? So there's the nun who lives there, and then...
she's my second favorite.
And then they take that nun, and they introduce you to her, so you know her, right? And then they come and they circle around back and they go off on this nun's whole history from when she was a baby to her present day. They cover the whole thing, and it takes half or more than half of a volume of comic.
And that story is so engaging that you kind of forget the outside story, and suddenly you're back in the modern time in the book, and you're like, oh, whoa, wait.
Yeah, it's like they go and they tell this whole character's story like it's a brand new comic, and then they bring you back into the main story of the girl who just showed up with her freaky baby. And then I think who knows, right? There's only 2 volumes so far, and it comes out so slowly. But are they going to do that for another character? They're going to go off on the horse guy? And
horse guy's my third favorite.
Horse guy. Let me guess your first favorite. Quiet guy.
The doctor.
Oh, you like the doctor?
I like the doctor.
Oh.
I like the quiet guy, but I like the doctor way more because he's actually kind of cute in the way he actually acts around people.
I don't know.
He's very... I don't know, it's this weird mix of shy.
I actually kind of like the Bird Butler.
I like the Bird Butler a lot.
I mean, you like
all the
everybody.
characters.
Yeah, there's really no unlikable characters going on here.
I really like the horse too. Just because he's so Rainbow Dashy. You know he is.
Yeah.
But the final third is really this slice of life. You get a lot of just these, like, this view of what day-to-day life is like in this castle when there's no plot on the outside, nothing going on. It's just, oh, the fairies are up to shit again, and the roof is leaking, and we gotta fix it, and oh, here's how we get gold, and just all these kind of mundane, day-to-day happy stories. You feel like you're almost living there with this family of weirdos.
Really, I don't think, I think that slice of life stuff, I mean, it's not a significant percentage of the comic.
I think it is. I think it's a solid third.
No,
I think you forget how much of the story is just, it's not like the backstory of like the full history of a character. It's just them going about their day-to-day BS.
I think it's mostly just a lot of that stuff is just there because they're introducing you. They're sort of teaching you, here's how life at the castle works, right? So that you're not like, well, how do they freaking live out in the middle of nowhere alone? Where do they get money from? Oh, that's where they get money.
I didn't say that's not the purpose of it.
They're answering all these questions. And then,
I didn't say that's not the purpose of it.
I would not categorize it as slice of life in any way.
That aspect of it is definitely slice of life. You're just seeing a slice of the lives of these people. There's
in any story you see the slice of the lives of the characters. Gasp! That doesn't make it slice of life.
There's definitely
as a genre.
difference between when you see what's going on that either establishes characters or furthers plot in some specific way versus this kind of just voyeuristic, check this out. Oh, yeah.
No, because all of those things they introduce are, simply Chekhov's guns and or explanations for adventure plots that follow.
The leaky roof was not a Chekhov's gun for fucking anything.
Yeah, it was.
What?
I forget, but it was definitely in there because
then
they started investigating like all the secret parts of the other castle.
No, they didn't. They did that because she wanted to move.
Yeah.
I just read it. You read it a while ago.
The point is, stuff is in there for a reason.
I don't think the leaky roof is in there for any reason other than to show you a slice of the lives of these characters and the Goonie interactions they have with those sprites.
Anyway, the point is,
the sprites are kind of great.
It's not slice of life. It is a fairy tale.
I didn't say it was slice of life. I said 1/3 of it is slice of life.
Yeah, no.
It is. You'll see when you read it.
1/3 of everything is slice of life then.
Now, because there was no slice of life in The Prince of Nothing until Acamian or Seswatha started shitting.
Nah, sure.
That's some slice of life.
So it's only slice of life if if there is a portion of, if there are characters doing things that are mundane. If there is any portion of the story where characters are doing mundane things, suddenly that's slice of life. But if they show you a slice of the characters' lives,
I'm saying that
when they're doing things that are not mundane and everyday, then it's not slice of life.
The presentation of the comic has, at least 1/3 of it has many of the characteristics of what you'd see in a typical slice of life story, where you could take all those apart from the overall plot and separately, completely apart from the detailed histories of all the characters, and they would still be an interesting story. There's just no plot other than, yay, these people living their lives, check it out.
But there is a plot other than that.
In those parts, not really.
There is. There's the whole thing is a giant plot.
Yeah, there is an overarching plot. I'm saying that 1/3 of the comic is very slice of life-esque.
Anyway, let's move on, right? So
I don't know why this is so hard for you to understand.
Because it's not true. Anyway, so
name any character from the comic.
I can't remember characters' names for shit.
Anyway,
who can remember characters' names? If you haven't read something yesterday, I mean.
But you must remember.
No. I don't.
You should eat some kiri. That'll fix you.
Sure. Anyway, so yeah, the thing with Castle Waiting, right, is you've got we didn't really go down the list of all the characters, right? So there's the girl who shows up with her baby that's a monster, right?
He's a Leshy, I think.
Yeah, he's some sort of monster.
Half Leshy.
Something like that.
I learned about Leshies from Quest for Glory 4.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's a fantasy thing.
Yeah,
right?
They're in there.
I
saved one.
There's this Bird Butler guy who's sort of like the mayor or like the head. He takes care of all like, the business and the accounting and all that, right? So he sort of makes sure that, everything is taken care of.
He has a fangirl too.
Yeah. There's the horse guy. He's actually a horse guy.
Rainbow Dash.
Yeah. Oh, his name is like Chest or something like that, right? Because
there's basically the world is a fantasy world where about 1/3, 1/4 of the people are animal people.
Yeah. There's the nun who is like from this weird, they tell you get the whole nun story.
She's Jesus.
Yeah. And she's like this. She has like this epic story of nunnage, and it's like she's like the ultimate feminist nuns of awesomeness.
Don't forget her hanging out with the little demon guy who's actually pretty chill.
That's right. Like she hangs out. Oh, that's right. There's like the evil demon who's like chasing the baby who works for the witch in the woods. But
well, the witch in the woods is really the only bitch we've met so far.
Yeah, it's like that's the only bad guy. But
she gets hers.
Yeah. It's like there's a witch in the woods and the imp that works for it, and only the nun really knows the imp is visiting, and she talks to it, but no one else even knows it's there.
The comic has a lot of those enemies who know each other and are actually kind of friends, and they just kind of do the job of fighting with each other. A lot of the characters have those kind of ripping on each other relationships.
Yeah, there isn't really a whole lot of that. Even though it's a fantasy thing, there's no dragons and swords and actually like straight up fighting or magical battles. At least not yet, right? I mean, there probably aren't going to be. It's mostly, there is a fantasy world, there is magic, there is monsters and whatever. But nobody's really having direct, fighting conflict. It's mostly sort of everyday social conflict and everyday problems conflict. Like, oh, crap, we need, supplies. We went to town. Oh, no, all our money is gone. That's the kind of problems they run into. Not problems like, oh, crap, the dragon's trying to eat me. We must slay him. You're not going to, there's none of that. Even though it's heavily implied that the world is full of that. There isn't any of that in this Castle Waiting. And I guess that's partially because Castle Waiting is sort of like the safe place, right? So anything like that sort of stays outside.
I'm curious what would happen if the castle were actually besieged.
I wonder if it could be besieged, right? There's the hedge maze.
Yeah, I know. But at the same time, there's the path through the hedge maze.
Yeah, but that's because he clears it out all the time.
Yeah.
If the dragon was coming, they just let it hedge in.
Depends on how fast it hedges. We don't know these things.
But it's a magical hedge maze. It might just close instantly.
Yeah, but if it closes instantly, then how is he constantly clearing it?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
There's a lot of sort of, a lot of the magic is sort of that quirky, sort of, misbehaving nature stuff, right? It's like
the dirty old water spirit's pretty great.
Dirty old water spirit.
Just a naked old man who's totally lecherous.
Yeah. He lives in the well, right?
Yeah. And the stream.
Oh, no, that's why the water was dropping from the ceiling, because that was the dirty old lecher getting into the thing. It wasn't actually rain or anything.
Yeah, he was just being a dick.
Yeah, but there was actually a reason for it.
Yeah, I didn't say there wasn't a reason for it.
Yeah,
I said it served no plot purpose.
It did. It was to introduce you to the water.
You was already introduced long time before.
To make a funny.
Yeah, funny.
But yeah, Castle Waiting is like, I don't. It's weird because it's like people know about it. It sells, right? And it's won awards, and it's like, right? But it's like, you never hear anybody talk about it. It's like, because I think it's because it just comes out so slowly. I mean, it goes on hiatus. I mean, this thing actually, right, according to, the Linda Medley, right, she first thought of it in 1984, right? And then they published 7 issues. She self-published 7 issues, is according to Wikipedia, in 1997. Okay. And then in 1999, there was one hiatus issue, right? It's like, oh my God, how many years is this, right? This is 1997 was how long ago?
Long time ago.
15 years, right? So
we should consult the XKCD.
Yeah. So then she published 4 issues in the year 2000. Okay, it's like how many, she kept going and going. Few issues here, few issues there. And somehow in 2006, they were able to, all the issues combined were enough to make the first hardcover. And then in 2010, November last year, they had the second hardcover. So, and she's currently taking a break. So at this rate, let's see, 06 and 2014 we'll get volume 3, maybe 2015, something like that.
Yeah, which is kind of frustrating because you'll probably like this comic and read through it pretty quick. And you'll hit the end of all the books that are out, and then waiting game.
And it's like, it's a continuing story. There is a plot, right? And
the rate at which it's being told, there's going to be like 100 volumes. It's going to be Berserk.
Is it even going to finish?
Berserk.
Yeah.
Berserk.
This is one of those things. It's like, there is a continuing plot that'll probably never be resolved just because it gets published so slowly.
Thing is, it's worth reading anyway. I had great fun reading it, and I look forward to eventually reading more of it.
Yeah, the other thing is that, the book does have a message, right? And it's often like a feminist message, right? My favorite part was when, the story about the miller.
Ah, yeah.
And the miller was like, oh, I need someone to work the mill, right? He's like, I don't have enough hands. And the guy's like, well, what about those hands? And he points at like the miller's wife or daughter who isn't doing anything. And he's like, oh, snap.
He's got how many coins did he throw in the shit?
I forget.
I don't remember that part.
No.
They owe the miller like 3 gold coins. He tosses 2 into the shit, and he's like, well, fish him out. Only 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, it's that good kind of feminist message where it's like, it's not man-hating. It's not, scary women. It's like,
what do you mean scary women?
That kind of feminism that's like, women, we eat you. The stuff that's not really...
Have good fundamentals, but...
Yeah, it's not the stereotypical, not real feminism of like, He-Man, women-hating Amazon situation, right? It's like, actual feminism, like... Hey, men are cool. It doesn't portray men in any bad way, but it portrays... women as in an intelligent way, and the lesson is often, feminist in nature in most of the stories.
The moral in general of every story of Castle Waiting seems to come down to don't be a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's usually women that are being dicked to, in the stories, right? Because I think that's part of why it's in sort of this medieval setting, right? Because you have this sort of, actual medieval society, where they've got things like arranged marriages and, all kinds of stuff like that, right? Women can't work and all that sort of stuff that you would have in medieval society. But in the fantasy medieval society, by contrast, you've got like witches and princesses and, like all that kind of stuff, right? And it's the contrast between those things that is used to illustrate a lot of these morals. So...
in conclusion, it's worth reading, and you should read it.
Yeah, a lot of people looking for, indie comics in the if they're not coming out quickly enough for you. 2 really fancy hardcover books, easy to buy, can't go wrong, totally awesome, hidden treasure. All right, what are you waiting for? I hope you're not waiting for a castle, because you're gonna
really
you're gonna be waiting for like 100 years.
Really?
Yeah, really.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.